all new Honey Soul Radio, Love Reloaded. I am your radio host, Tracy Bryant, the Honey Diva, sensual empowerment coach, sexpert, and love connoisseur. I am joined by my beautiful co-host, love coach and sexpert, Miss Tamara Bell, also known as Miss Lady T. And we are so happy to be here, and we are so happy that you can join us. So share the night. We're looking forward to sharing the night with all of our listeners. Now, we know you missed us, and we are back. This is actually our third show back, and we are honored, to say the least. Now, our last show was great. It was phenomenal. It was with Brian and Karen Craig of Sacred Sexuality Retreat. So you want to go ahead and check that show out. There's a 3-day retreat going on December 4th through 6th right here in Atlanta, Georgia. You can check them out at www.sacredsexualityretreatatlanta.com. I will also be there, and I will have my products, my boudoirs, accessories to help spice up the relationship and keep that whole intimacy and that love thing going so that we can create stronger bonds to create, that revolutionary love that we so seek in order to go to that next level. Now, this show, we have a wonderful, wonderful show this evening. This show is going to definitely be out of this world. I need to tell you, if you are not ready, you may not be ready for this. You know, those of us who know Dr. Blair, who've listened to Dr. Blair, who've heard him speak, who've been to his seminars, who's watched his videos, who's heard him on radio, know that he's definitely a very profound brother. He has a lot of information concerning cosmic forces, cosmic energies, things of that nature on that next level, next dimension, interdimension, and galactical and multidimensional philosophy. So this evening we will discuss male and female sexual energy dangers, how to protect our energy and frequency from ELF, which he says is extra low frequency waves, and how to raise our levels to a new and higher dimension. Now, Dr. Blair is an engineer, research scientist, metaphysics teacher, and historian of the highest level. For over 50 years, he has been the director of the Meta Center in Chicago since 1973. You can learn more about Dr. Delbert Blair at the Meta Center Chicago. That's the metacenterchicago.com. Now, thank you so much, Dr. Blair. Are you here?
Well, I'm definitely here. I'm glad you're there. I appreciate you inviting me on your show. I didn't have the pleasure before this time. I tried to find out, too, why you chose me at this time of all times. But I'm glad we did, because I think we're going to have a ball based on what's happening in the world, based on how I've just heard you introduce your show, and based on some of the things that I've gotten out in 2 new books. So we ought to have a ball with this one.
Wow, you have 2 new books?
Yes.
Okay, okay, we'll be able to talk a little bit about that. Let me tell you how I became connected with you, first off. I had an experience, and I'm going to share this. I've shared it with probably 3 people. I had an experience, and I'm not a Star Wars sci-fi type of chick. I'm really not. And my experience was I connected and met with some other life forms from another dimension, and they put something inside of 3 chakra centers. One they put in my sacral chakra, my solar plexus, and as well as my heart chakra. And it was crystals.
Hold on a minute, Sammy. I'm going to try to switch phones here. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Keep talking with me.
Okay. So I was met by these other life forms. They were all black. They were cold charcoal black. and they came to me, and it was in a level of sleep, but I wasn't dreaming, because you know how when you dream, you actually you're looking like at yourself in the dream. It wasn't like that, and I can remember some crystals being put inside these 3 chakra centers and turned. Now, this was about 3 years ago, and they told me before they left to take monatomic gold, chlorophyll, and chlorella. I've heard of chlorophyll and chlorella, but I had never heard of monatomic gold. So they gave me that information before they left. So I went to one of my good friends, Aon, who's a numerologist, and we were talking one day, and I told her about my experience. And I said, they told me to take monatomic gold, chlorophyll, and chlorella. And she was like, wow, you're about to go in and start changing your cellular structure, as well as raise your frequency to other levels and dimensions, so that you could be more in tune for these multi-dimensional levels that's coming in. And I was like, I was taken aback. So, and I need to say this again, I'm not a big Star Wars type of chick fan. I've always kind of looked at it as like the mainstream, as it being sci-fi and, you know, all the science fiction. And it was no longer fiction for me, you know. So here I am, just a, you know, average, don't get down with the whole, I mean, I love the cosmos and all that, but I didn't really have this big, you know, fanfare for all the Star Wars type of stuff. And here I am, I was visited. And so in my search, in my channeling these different messages from other forces and other places here, not here on the earth, I've been experiencing some channeling, and I've been writing down what they've been telling me. And I know for some of you it may sound a little far-fetched, but that's okay. But that's why I'm breaking it down to you, that me, of all people, yes, me, I had an experience. And so during my research within the last 3 or 4 years, I came up on you about a year ago, Dr. Blair. And me and my husband have been in here. One day we stayed in here 3 days, 72 hours with just water and minimal food, listening to you. Yes. So that has been my experience and my connection with you thus far, and other than speaking with you a couple of weeks ago. So that's how you became an interest for the show. And I also seen that you have a series that you discuss about male and female sexual energy dangers, and sexuality is one of my passions, as well as what I like to investigate and teach and share. So I thought that you would just be an excellent guest for the show.
Well, you covered a plethora, as they say, of information there. Obviously, you've done some research on me, which I appreciate. You've gone through, obviously, a metamorphosis, and are still going through one. And I know if you're talking with me on your show, you are still going to continue that metamorphosis. So what can I tell you? It's interesting that you said that these were black men, 3?
Yes.
Okay. How did you meet them?
I was resting, and they came to me while I was resting in my room.
Okay, so you were in a dream state, or you in a semi state, or
it was a semi-dream state. It wasn't a dream, because I know when I'm in a dream, I'm looking at myself in the dream. I wasn't looking at myself in the dream. I was actually feeling it there, like interacting. Even though I wasn't moving, I was laying on my back, and they came, and I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous, but I was in a state of where I wasn't moving. I wasn't, and I watched them. I watched them do it.
But did they all look alike?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, they all looked alike, but they were black. They were a cold black, the whole body, like a whole black bodysuit. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I see. Well, let me say, because as I say, there's a lot of avenues to cover here. You've opened up a number of possibilities, and the fact that it happened to you at this time means that you are special. And the special is that you're supposed to either make changes at this time, be aware of changes that are occurring at this time, or share with others those changes in order to see if they can make sense of it. I think the latter seems to be what it is. Not only have I, by the way, too, take a deep breath, I'm 81 years old. So I've been at this for some time. I've had my own school for, God, I taught, first of all, I'm a college professor, okay, history. I've traveled extensively. There's only about 3 states I have not lectured in. I cover metaphysics and just about, without bragging, every aspect of metaphysics. And in the way that you have introduced it, I think it's because of the changes now and through what is called parthenogenesis. Now, I have 2 books out. One book is called Man, Woman, and Child. And I suggest that every woman read that book thoroughly. That sounds like a braggadocious type thing. It may be, but it's my belief, and I still think that every woman should read that book. Parthenogenesis, and that the man, woman, and child gets into a whole different ball game. And I don't want to start stepping on toes at the beginning, but if the toes are bare, it may hurt. Most women, whether they be mothers or fathers, whether they be mothers or sisters or daughters or grandmothers or girlfriends, make 2 big mistakes. They have been taught wrongly about parthenogenesis and its meaning. Therefore, they wrongly about the menstrual cycle of a female. And that's saying a lot. And then the second stage with all of that is the time that our planet is now going through, which is my second book, and that is that now I am a contactee. I'm not sure if you are aware of what that means, so I will explain to you how I look at being a contactee. There are abductees, people who get abducted by UFOs or get snatched away, go through all kind of horrible things and not so nice horrible things and so on and so forth. And there's a contactee. I am the only black, still alive contactee that I know on the planet. And that means because I also was contacted by 3 black men at this is some time ago, this is 40 years ago, at a UFO symposium here in Chicago. There's a long story to it, and I could drag it out, but I won't. If you wish to go back over it, then we can drag it out. But they were there I was there to speak, to listen to a guy by the name of George Adamski. He's a Polish man who had written the book Flying Saucers Have Landed. And I was quite impressed by it, so I went to see him. Long story short, it was a 2-day seminar, and I went on the wrong night. And I was a college student, didn't have extra money, and he was speaking the next night. So I said, okay, here we go. I won't be able to come back. Well, I was already there for that Friday night, and it turned out that I stayed long enough for the author to show up with his escort I guess he was checking in that night. And I was already in the hotel. Well, he came in the lobby, of course. I was already in the hotel. So something said, why don't you stay around, see if you can sit in on this interview, and even though you're going to miss him since he's speaking the next night, who knows what may happen. So the thing that happened was he was speaking on about the 3rd floor. I was already in the building. So most of the people, his bodyguards and press and all, coming in and going to the second floor for that one. Well, I said, I'm going to join it. But what I hadn't remembered was I was already in the hotel, which meant that I came through a side drapery door at a time when he was being interviewed with police and everything else, and I just stepped through the door. Up and said, "Uh-oh, you just made a boo-boo," because everybody immediately turned toward this drape. Here's this one black guy coming through the drapes from the wrong direction with the cops and all around. I said, I'm a dead man. And so, saying, Creator, when things are rough, I say, Creator, you got to help me. This man looked at me. I didn't know him from anybody else. And so everybody, of course, takes a look at me, and they started to approach me. Well, he said, it's okay, I know him. He said, that's all right, he just came in the other way. And they all looked. Well, I didn't know him from a hole in a pole. And I'm saying, well, thanks for saving my life. Okay.
Right.
So, as it turned out, after that, I stood and talked with the man. This was the press departed about 1:45 in the morning. We sat and talked till the sun came up. He didn't know me, didn't know him. He's white, I'm black, but it was one of those things it was supposed to be. And from that point on, of course, my whole life changes. I still have very rare collection of information from him. I have a letter from him. I have a signed autograph from him, and so on again like that. Well, based on what happened then, he told me to come back the next night, that he had a movie he wanted me to see. And I said, well, I'm a student, I can't come back. He said, if you come back, your name will be on the list, you won't have to pay, it'll be all right. So I wound up coming back, and at the end of that show, I looked around, and there were only 2 other black people. There were 350 people. There were only 2 other black people in the whole place. So that being the case, I said, well, at least maybe they were men, and I said, well, at least maybe I'll be able to share some books with them, finally meet some people look like me that are in the UFOs and all like that. Yeah, so I was really happy. So after the show, I went running over there. I was using the word brother then. I said, hey, bro, man, I'm glad to see you, so on and so forth again, This guy looked at me like I was from outer space and and walked away. I said, whoa. I said, hey, bro, I'm talking to you. And he ignored me. It's 2 of them. So I'm saying, well, man, this is really a strange thing. So I said, well, so much for it. Well, after that, I went over to the side door. There was only one way into the auditorium, and there was a young lady that Adamski was with. So as we were talking that evening, I saw her. So I kind of motioned toward me and toward her and said, may I come over to talk to you? And so she beckoned me over, and I said, well, I'm sorry. I said, I came back to see Mr. Adamski, but after having taken up so much time before, I didn't want to take up more time. I said, I tried to talk to these other guys. They don't want to talk to me, but he seemed to respect you. Do you mind if I take up a little of your time? So she said, no. Well, I'm always aware I'm dragging this out, but to give you the full impact, I'm always aware of my circumstances. And I'm always aware when I should be aware, even if I don't know that I should be aware. So I'm talking to her, and then I watched her looking past me. And I'm saying, I'm talking to you, and you looking past me. So I turn around to see what she's talking about. Here come these 2 black guys. Well, by this time, I'm thoroughly pissed. I try to talk to them. They snub me. Now when I go to talk to the woman, they come over. So when they came over now, I'm telling her, I said, I don't know these guys. I said, I really don't want to be bothered. So I said, unless you don't mind, I'd rather not talk with them. So she didn't say much. She just looked. Then I looked, and they're coming straight over. And when they came straight over this time again, they nodded. So she nodded. She says, well, thank you, Mr. Blair. And she walked off. Well, I just told her I didn't want to talk to these guys. So now I'm triple messed up. Well, to make a long story short, they said that they had come a long way to see me. They didn't know it was me. They thought I was one of them up there at the front, and they were sorry about the snubbing. But their time was, they didn't have a lot of time. They didn't have time to waste, and they were there for a purpose. So I said, well, it still seems to me, purpose or not, you know how to be cordial or friendly. So I said, you mean this is your thing? Here I am. What are we going to talk about? Well, we wound up talking about a lot of things, and they answered a lot of questions that I had. And they did say, whatever question you have, we will answer. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's pretty bodacious. But at any rate, they said, well, then you can start answering. And I started asking them questions, and everything that they answered made sense to me. Some of the things I hadn't heard about made sense to me. And I'm saying, well, maybe this is a different kind of experience again. I've asked them about how they got started, and that the one thing they didn't say was where they came from. And that was kind of in the back of my mind. And for some reason or another, it just didn't hit. I don't know why it didn't. So we talked, they answered. I asked, one of the things they asked me, said, are you aware of metaphysics? And I said, just briefly, but not thoroughly. And so he says, well, that's the first thing we suggest you do. Find you a metaphysical bookstore and start to read metaphysics. Incorporate that into your history, and we think that you'll find that to be of very much value to you and all. And they asked me some weird stuff. Two things stood out. We were at the lobby of the hotel, standing. It was a summer night, so it was kind of warm and all. And we were talking, and one man had a big, strong voice. So I said, well, talking like this, maybe we better just stand right outside the hotel and talk, so people won't think we're crazy again, per se. Well, one of the things he asked me, do you know, well, anyway, how do they put that? I was asking, well, what was a black person, white person, so on and so forth again. He says, well, he said, in about 20 minutes, I will show you what a black man is. So I said, about 20 minutes, he'll show me what a black man is. I said, okay. So we were talking, and he's answering questions. About 20 minutes down the line, downtown, I hear, hey, baby, woo, yeah, man. Here come, now this is 40 years ago. Here come a bunch of low pants, baggy pants wearing blacks down on a Saturday night downtown. Loudest things on the street, ugliest things on the street. Ugly because they were not well groomed. I said, how did you know 20 minutes ago that this was going to happen? Didn't answer that question. So it went on like that again. Well, from that experience anyway, I did say, well, there are such things as UFOs? And if so, would I ever get a chance to see or hear or UFOs and stuff? He said, yes, there are such things as UFOs. You will probably get that opportunity. So, but the biggest thing is now, if you have any other questions, this is the time to answer them while we're here, because we came here especially to answer your questions. Well, I answered everything I asked everything I could think of, and then he said, well, that's it. And I said, well, will I ever get to see you again? He said, I doubt you may see him. I doubt it. You will not see me again. This was a special opportunity. So I said, well, how about UFOs? He said, just watch the skies. So that was it. Now, remember, two things that happened that were fascinating to me. We were downtown. I think Dr. No was just coming out at that movie, Dr. No. And I'm saying, we're downtown. I'm going to trail these guys. I'm going to build me a Dr. No. I'm going to find out where they're going. It's enough people down here to hide. I don't have to break this off because they're ready to break this on off. So they start walking away, and I said, I'm going to follow them. In my head, just as clear as a bell, it said, don't even think about it. Now I'm saying, don't even think about it. I said, yeah, I'm going to follow these guys. Again, it said, don't even think about it. So the guy was talking to me in my head, telling me don't even think about following him. Well, now that kind of took me. That kind of took me. So another long story short, that happened on a Saturday night, and I was in school at that time. Spent a lot of time in the library. And that Tuesday night, I was over at University of Chicago. That Tuesday night, I was coming home from the library, registering the library, and I'm looking in the sky, and it looks like I see 3 stars move. Well, I don't see 3 stars move. I said, oh boy, now I'm really wishful thinking. And then I looked, and it was 3 stars moving. They were moving kind of fast. They were coming down almost like a sliding board. They were together coming fast. They weren't speeding 100,000 miles an hour, but they were coming fast on a slant. Well, where I was staying on the University of Chicago campus, it was like English basement things. The buildings all had 4 stories with a parapet wall, and the way they were stacked together, if they get too close together, you can't see anything. So I'm saying, oh my God, I get a chance to see some UFOs, and now I'm not going to be able to see them because of the building. So I said, okay, we'll see what goes from here. So I just got married, and I remember I had 2 choices: run to the corner, run to the alley, come into the back way in the alley, or try to see if I can get upstairs and run out the back door before they go. Well, I chose the latter, ringing the bell like crazy, burst in the door, told my wife, follow me. We ran out on the porch, and when we ran out on the porch, I never will forget that. The daggone things, instead of going on, had stopped. And it was 3 of them. And when we opened the door, I would never will forget this in my life. My wife looked at me, looked at that, and said, what have you done now? So that let me know 2 things. Whatever it was, she could see it. It wasn't an illusion. And she almost broke the door. She slammed that door, and that was about it. And so these daggone things performed for me for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Okay, so I didn't have to ask, do UFOs exist? I didn't have to ask, is there a black connection? I didn't have to ask, could they find me whenever they wanted me to, or whenever they wanted to? And, of course, that changed your life, and it got me heavy into metaphysics. I've never gotten out of that, and I've had so many experiences since that time, I don't even know where to begin. So that was where...
I get that, because after my first experience with the 3 black beings, the men, I've had a few more experiences later on down the line. And so once you become connected, or they make contact, or it's like you have sometimes you have more of them. That's what I'm getting, because now I'm starting to channel different stuff, and I have to write it down. They're like making me write certain things down. So I don't know exactly where this is going and where it's taking me. I'm just being obedient. I mean, it's not anything for me to fear, nor does it give me any type of nervous or anxious energy. So I'm okay with it, But that's an interesting story about how you got involved in the UFOs and becoming a contactee, as you said. Can you explain to our listeners what is parthenogenesis?
Parthenon is a building that you find in Greece, and parthenogenesis is part of what people went to the Parthenon for. Now, there's a big confusion here on this planet, because most of the things that are metaphysical seem to have come from Greece or from the Greeks. It was not that they originated it. They were the last race to be pushed for the arcane energy to be left with. Everybody else knew it. They were the last Caucasians to be given the arcane information. That's why it gets confused. Most people think, since they were the last ones given, that they were originators of it. They weren't. Everybody else knew it. So this was the last time it was passed on to a white person using now races, and it was because of that that a lot of things that come from Greece seem to be metaphysical, if you will. The word meta, meta means above, and physics means science. But Parthenon was a place where women went for purity, and parthenogenesis is part of being pure. The Parthenon is where women who wanted to become pregnant or who wanted to give special birth would go and fast, would go and meditate, and that's where that whole thing came from. And, of course, this is where the Circes and all the rest of them come from again, and that's what that's about. But it was a place to produce a more beautiful birth, a very highly evolved consciousness, and to prepare yourself. So that's what they call more or less parthenogenesis. But I want to get that straight, because it is not that the Greeks invented metaphysics. It's the last race on earth to be given that information was to the Greeks.
Okay. Thank you for definitely explaining that and clearing that up, because I know a lot of people, they didn't know that. Also, we want to discuss more about, I have about 3 significant topics that we definitely want to discuss this evening. So we want to get into male and female sexual energy dangers. I want you to speak a little bit about the extra low frequency waves, as well as homosexuality, what it is and what it isn't. I've heard you speak on all 3 during your lectures and your video series, and I'm just...
you heard some of my videos, huh?
Well, yes.
By the way, they're all over the net, 180 of them, all of them stolen. Yes. Listen to me, all of them stolen. All of these are things that I did over the course of years. People steal them, sell them, don't even send me a penny, and then say, as soon as I start getting angry, I saw your video. I'm saying to myself, you saw my video on my website? No, I just saw your video. That's because other people...
I've seen it on YouTube.
It's all over.
I stayed on YouTube for 3 days.
There you go. I didn't get a penny for it. They all stole from me.
I apologize, man. I didn't know they stole them.
That's right. They all stole it from me. Go to my website, which is a whole different ball game. All of those people stole it.
That wasn't me personally, Dr. Blair. But however, me getting into the information and being blessed with your information as well as your knowledge, it prompted me to call you and have you here. So, I just did what came next.
So things grow. And things are they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things are they're supposed to be.
We're going to